What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. We conclude our 2025 predictions for the upcoming 2025 college football season. Up next and concluding is the Purdue Boilermakers. Of course, Purdue coming off a very rough season last year, going just 1-11. So yeah, winning their first game, I believe, of the season, and then lost 11 straight at the end of the year. So yeah, really rough season for Purdue. You look at this team for 2025. My thoughts on this team. You look at the roster, really on both sides of the football, a lot of new players for this team. They do return their starting quarterback from last year, but there's just not going to be a lot of playmakers on this team. A bunch of new guys coming in because of the new coaching staff, and you got Barry Odom taking over. So Barry Odom is back at the head coaching level, coaching in the Power 4. You know, I remember he was at Missouri, so is he going to be able to get this program back to where it used to be? That's going to be hard to tell here in year one under Barry Odom, but looking at this schedule for 2025, it's another tough schedule for Purdue, and I think that's kind of the reason why Purdue's been really terrible in the last couple of years, is because of how tough their schedules have been. Again, this team was 1-11 last year in 2024, so let's go game by game, and I'll give you my official prediction for this Purdue team for 2025. First couple of games of the season are pretty easy ones. They get Ball State at home on August 30th, and then also Southern Illinois. Ball State is a group of 5 team, but Southern Illinois is an FCS team. Maybe the Ball State game kind of turns out to be a little bit of a tougher test here for the Boilermakers because of all these new players, but still, Purdue should be able to be the better team here, and they should be able to start off the season 1-0, and then 2-0 if you count the win over Southern Illinois. So I got this team starting off 2-0. You get a couple of easy wins here in the non-conference, for these new players, and then obviously you kind of feel out what the coaching staff looks like here for Barry Odom. So I got this team starting off 2-0. Then they open up conference play against USC at home on September 13th. This is going to be a pretty tough game for Purdue. USC obviously going to have a pretty explosive offense, but I think defensively this team is a little bit of an upgrade from where they were last year. They haven't been really consistent on defense in the course of the years that Lincoln Riley has been here for USC, but I think that's kind of an upgrade this year for USC. So this might be a lower scoring game, but it could possibly be like a high scoring game if Purdue is able to stop the USC's offense and slow the game down and run the football in this game. But still, USC is the better team on paper. They should be able to win this one. So I think USC does beat Purdue here at home pretty easily, and that's going to drop Purdue their first loss of the season, and that's going to put them here at 2-1. Then they go on the road to face Notre Dame, another non-conference game on September the 20th. Yeah, no chance here for the Boilermakers. This one is on the road. That's a very tough place to play. Notre Dame, of course, going to the national championship last year. And yeah, Purdue is just not on that level of the talent in the Big Ten, and then also against these tough non-conference opponents. So I think the Fighting Irish get the win here, and that's going to drop Purdue now to 2-2. Then they get at home against Illinois on October the 4th. They get a bye week before playing this game, which is actually a pretty good spot for a bye week. You kind of get some time to recover after that tough road game against Notre Dame, and then you come back here to play at home against a pretty experienced Illinois team. So maybe the Boilermakers come in a little bit fired up for this one. Illinois is a team that could be like in the top 25 by this point. I know people are kind of writing this Illinois team off a little bit, but you look at the two rosters, Illinois definitely is the much more experienced team, and I think they're definitely the better team in my opinion. So I think Purdue is competitive in this one, again because of the bye week and everything, but still, Illinois I think does prevail. So I'm going to go with Fighting Illini here to win this one, and so that's 3 losses in a row after a 2-0 start for Purdue. They will now drop to 2-3. After that, it's a road game at Minnesota on October the 11th. I don't really expect this one to be all that close. Minnesota, I think, is going to be pretty good this year. Maybe Purdue does come in a little bit competitive in the first few minutes, but the Golden Gophers are the better team at the end of the day, and I think this is a lower scoring game, but I'm going to go with the Golden Gophers here to get the win. So that's going to drop Purdue now to 2-4. Then it's Northwestern on the road on October 18th. So you got back-to-back road games here in the month of October against Minnesota and Northwestern. Northwestern and Minnesota are pretty similar teams. They could be sneaky good teams in the Big Ten this year. Not saying they're going to be dark horses or anything like that, but they could just be sneaky good, like 6 or 7 win type teams this upcoming season. This game right here, though, I feel like Purdue's going to have a pretty tough time in this one because I feel like they're going to come in a little bit beat up, especially after playing Minnesota from last week. And so I think Northwestern wins this one pretty big as well. And it's hard to win back-to-back road games in the history of college football, so that's going to drop Purdue now to 2-5. Then they come back at home to face Rutgers on October 25th. Back then when I did my Rutgers video, I did say that if there is one game on this schedule where Purdue can get a big win, it's probably going to be this game against Rutgers. Now, Rutgers are a better team, in my opinion, than Purdue is, and I think they're definitely going to want to run the football in this game, but I feel like Purdue is just desperate at this point. They're desperate to get that first Big Ten win for Barry Odom, and I think it probably does come in this game. So I think after, 5 losses in a row from September 13th all the way to October 18th, I feel like they finally get their first Big Ten win. So I feel like they beat Rutgers here. They pull off a slight upset because I feel like the Scarlet Knights are the better team. But I'm going to go with Purdue here to get a huge win. Again, I think they're going to get a huge win here somewhere on this schedule. And I'll talk about the other potential games that they can win as well in just a moment. But that's going to put them at 3-5. But the rest of the schedule is pretty tough the rest of the way. They got Michigan next here on the road on November 1st. Yeah, no chance here in this one. Michigan definitely should be able to roll in this one. And I got Michigan winning that game. That's going to drop Purdue now to 3-6. And then they got Ohio State. So they got Michigan and Ohio State back-to-back weeks here in the month of November. One of them is at home, so that's the good news. But the Buckeyes, they're going to be really too much here for Purdue to handle. Purdue is just not quite up to that level where they used to be against the top teams in the Big Ten. And so I think Ohio State does win this one. And then they play at Washington here on November 15th, so they do have to travel out west here. And how many times did we see that last year? When a team does travel out west, it does tend to give teams some trouble. And I think going into this game right here, Purdue is definitely a lot more beat up compared to the Notre Dame game. Obviously they're a little bit beat up because they played Michigan and Ohio State. I wouldn't say a little bit beat up. I would say a lot beat up because they play these two tough teams in the Big Ten. And so I think Purdue is definitely going to get demolished here again. But this time to Washington here on the road at West. And then that's a tough place to play. So I'm going to say that Purdue loses that game. And that's going to drop them to 3-8. And then the final game of the season, they come out of the bye week to play Indiana at home on November 29th. An Indiana team that I feel like is going to be pretty good again this year. Kirk Zanetti has already proven that he's a winner here for this program. But you never know. Purdue coming out of a bye week, they could compete in this game probably for a little while. Maybe it's a close game in the first half. It is a rivalry game. Anything can happen here. Maybe Purdue definitely can pull off an upset. But I don't think it will be enough. Indiana is clearly the better team here. And I think Indiana does prevail here in this one, especially with their quarterback that they have coming in. So I got Purdue finishing 3-9. So I got this team going 3-9. I think I can definitely see this team possibly going 2-10. Maybe they win their first couple of games and then lose the rest of their games and go 2-10. But I feel like they're going to get a Big Ten win somewhere at some point in the season. Maybe they can pull off a slight upset against Illinois. Maybe they also can pull off a win against Indiana. Illinois, Rutgers, and Indiana, probably the potential wins there for Purdue. I don't know if this team can win at least a couple of games in the conference, but I got this team at least getting one win in the conference this year in 2025. So I don't think they're going to be the worst team in the Big Ten. Maryland is probably the worst team as of right now once we get into the standings in just a few days. So that's my prediction here for Purdue. Again, it's 3-9 for 2025 and Barry Odom's first year. And again, that concludes our 2025 predictions. We'll have the standings for each and every single Power 4 conference, and we'll give you the records, show you the records, what the standings could look like based on those records, and then I'll give you my conference championship predictions as well. So stay tuned for those videos coming out. Thank you for watching all these predictions. Be sure to check out the playlist for all my predictions down in the description below. And thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.